Welcome back, everyone. We're diving back into To Kill a Mockingbird, picking up after that attack in the dark at the end of Chapter 30.
Yeah, a lot happened there. It really leaves you on edge.
It does. But then we finally meet Boo Radley in Chapter 31, face to face.
It is the moment we've been waiting for, isn't it? The anticipation has been building throughout the entire story, and this chapter, it really delivers.
I gotta admit, when Scout describes Boo coming out of the shadows, I got chills. The way she describes him, unsteady, uncertain, and that cough that shakes his whole body, it's almost ghostly.
That's such a great point. Because while Boo seems almost spectral, Scout also reveals that he was with her the whole time, through the whole ordeal. She even says herself that it's incredible.
And that makes you think?
Yeah, about how fear of the unknown can really distort things. We tend to create monsters in our minds.
And sometimes reality is different.
Completely different sometimes, yeah.
It makes you wonder if we all have our own Boo Radleys.
Yeah.
People we misjudge based on, I don't know, rumors or fear.
Absolutely. And that theme, the theme of perception versus reality, it runs throughout this entire chapter.
Like how Boo interacts with Jem.
Exactly. He just wants to say goodnight to Jem, you know? He looks at him with this timid curiosity, like he's never seen a boy up close before.
It's kind of heartbreaking.
Isn't it? This man that everyone's afraid of, he's just this vulnerable soul and full of concern for Jem. He lets Scout lead him to Jem's bedside and even places his hand on Jem's hair.
I love that detail.
Yeah, that detail about Boo's hand, how it was surprisingly warm for its whiteness. It's such a small detail, but it humanizes him so powerfully. You know, it reminds us that beneath all those stories, all the whispers, he's a person.
Capable of warmth and connection.
Exactly.
Then there's that moment when Boo asks Scout to take him home, whispering in a child afraid of the dark voice.
Oh, it's truly heartbreaking. And what's even more powerful is Scout's realization. She realizes that, you know, she can lead Boo through her house, but she could never lead him to his own home. It really speaks volumes about her own limited experience and about just how lonely Boo must be.
That really resonated with me.
Yeah.
I love how Scout takes charge, linking arms with Boo and walking him down the sidewalk, like a gentleman. She says, you know, just so Miss Stephanie Crawford can see. It's like she's protecting him.
Yeah, and defying the town's judgment at the same time.
Exactly.
And even though Boo is clearly shy and a bit awkward, he manages to find the doorknob himself. He opens the door and goes inside without any help. It really challenges the image of him as helpless or childlike.
Yeah, like Leah's reminding us that he's not just a ghost story or a monster.
Exactly.
We can't forget about all those little gifts he left in the knothole. The soap dolls, the watch and chain, the pennies.
It's true. Those small tokens, they take on a whole new meaning when you consider what he really gave them, saving Jem and Scout's lives.
Yeah, it makes you realize that even little acts of kindness, they can have such a profound impact.
They really can.
Scout is even sad that they never gave anything back to Boo. It's like she finally sees the imbalance in their relationship, recognizes his quiet generosity.
It's a turning point for her, wouldn't you say?
Totally.
She's moving beyond her childhood perspective, I think.
Absolutely. And speaking of perspective, the whole chapter shifts when Scout stands on the Radley porch.
And sees her neighborhood from this whole new angle.
It's like more than just seeing the physical landscape differently.
Yeah.
It's a shift in her whole worldview.
It is. And then Lee goes into this incredible daydream sequence.
Oh, yeah.
Where Scout's imagining scenes from Boo's life.
I love that part.
It's as if she's putting together a puzzle, you know, trying to understand him.
And you're right there with her.
You are. As you see the neighborhood through Boo's eyes, you start to understand his isolation.
And his longing for connection.
You see these everyday moments like, you know, like Miss Stephanie gossiping, Miss Maudie gardening, the kids playing. It seems so ordinary, but...
It makes Boo's isolation even more poignant.
Exactly.
Then there's that scene where a man, we assume it's Boo, he's waving to these children running towards him.
Oh, yeah.
It's such a contrast to how the town fears him.
It is.
And the daydream continues, going through different seasons, showing the children growing up, you know, playing, fighting, all the joys and sorrows of childhood.
And then that scene of the man shooting the rabid dog.
Right.
It connects back to that night Jem was attacked.
So maybe Boo was protecting them all along.
It seems like it. Like all the pieces are finally falling into place.
And then that realization, Boo's children needed him. It's like such a profound understanding of his love for them.
And the sacrifices he made to keep them safe.
It's a beautiful moment. Scout stepping into Boo's shoes, seeing the world through his eyes.
It reminds me of Atticus's words. you never really know a man until you stand in his shoes and walk around in them.
Such a perfect echo of that sentiment.
It is.
It's amazing that just this brief glimpse into Boo's life, it gives Scout this deeper understanding of him as a person. It speaks to the power of empathy.
It does. You know what struck me?
What's that?
When Scout gets home, Atticus is reading to Jem. And despite everything that just happened, it feels peaceful.
It does.
Almost like a calm after the storm.
You know, it really speaks to Atticus's character.
Doesn't it? He's so reasonable, so composed.
Even in the face of chaos.
Right. And I thought it was interesting that he chose The Gray Ghost to read.
Me too.
It felt like more than just a bedtime story.
Like a coded message, almost.
Yeah, like he's saying, you know, look around you. Who are the gray ghosts in your own life?
That's a good point. And what about Scout insisting that she wasn't scared during the attack, but later she tells Mr. Tate she was?
Yeah. That delayed reaction, it could be a form of denial.
Maybe she's protecting herself from what happened.
It's possible, but the important thing is that she acknowledges it. It shows how self-aware she is.
And in the end, she finds comfort with her father, falling asleep as he reads. Even when Atticus carries her to bed and she pretends to be awake, there's such a feeling of security and love there.
There is. It's such a powerful reminder of parental love.
And how important it is to feel safe after something traumatic.
Absolutely. It sets the stage for those final lines.
Atticus, he was real nice.
Most people are Scout when you finally see them.
So simple, but so profound.
They really are. It perfectly captures Scout's journey in this chapter, from fear and prejudice to seeing Boo's humanity.
It really makes you think, what would the world be like if we all tried to stand in someone else's shoes before judging?
What would it be like? That's a great question for us to explore as we continue our deep dive, those final lines of chapter 31. Most people are Scout when you finally see them. They really get to you, don't they?
Yeah, it's so simple, but so powerful.
It is. And it really makes you think about all the times we misjudge people, you know, based on, I don't know, just limited information or fear.
Like, how often does that happen?
Yeah.
That we let these preconceived notions just shape how we interact with others.
Right. It's definitely something to think about. And Scout's journey in this chapter, it's almost like a microcosm of those larger themes we see throughout To Kill a Mockingbird. The prejudice, the misunderstanding. You see it on a big scale with Tom Robinson's trial. But here with Boo Radley...
It's like there's this potential for redemption.
Exactly.
Seeing beyond our fears.
And preconceived notions, yeah.
It's like Lee's showing us that empathy and understanding, they're not just some lofty ideals, right?
Right. They're essential for a just world, a
Yeah.
compassionate world.
And you don't, you're not born with those qualities, are you?
No, they're cultivated through experience. Moments of connection, understanding, just like Scout has with Boo in this chapter.
Imagine if we all approached each other with that kind of curiosity.
A willingness to listen, to learn from each other's stories. That's the beauty of literature, I think. Exploring these human experiences.
And gaining insights we can actually use. This has been so insightful.
It has...
I mean, one chapter.
I know, and there's so much more to unpack. Keep reading To Kill a Mockingbird. And pay attention to these themes, how they unfold. Perspective, empathy, challenging prejudice.
I can't wait. You know what really got to me about this chapter?
What's that?
How it ends with Scout falling asleep as Atticus reads, even pretending to be awake when he carries her to bed. It was just so tender.
It is. It's such a peaceful moment.
Isn't it? After all that turmoil,
Like a quiet reassurance.
it's like it reminds you of how important it is to have that,
what?
like that support in your life. You know, after something traumatic,
Someone you can turn to.
who makes you feel safe.
And loved, absolutely.
You know, you said turmoil. It is interesting because even though this chapter has a happy ending,
Jem and Scout are safe?
Boo is revealed as their protector.
Right.
There's still this sense of loss, isn't there?
There is. When Boo goes back to his house,
And closes the door.
disappearing back into the shadows.
It's kind of melancholy.
Yeah. Happy he helped the children, but
But he's going back to that isolation.
to that loneliness.
Makes you think about the cost of heroism.
Doesn't it?
The sacrifices people make for others, sometimes with no recognition.
Yeah, reward.
So many unsung heroes.
Everywhere. This chapter challenges us to see them, I think.
To look beyond the surface.
Exactly.
To see the good,
And courage.
maybe hidden in unexpected places.
Just like Scout learns to see Boo.
So as we wrap up this part of our deep dive, I want to leave you with this question. Who are the Boo Radleys in your life?
That's a good one. Think about it. The people you see every day, your neighbors, colleagues, even strangers. What are their stories? What might you be missing?
What acts of kindness, what courage might you be overlooking? Remember what Atticus said. Most people are, Scout, when you finally see them.
Maybe it's time to see the world and the people in it with fresh eyes.
With more curiosity and compassion.
Let's take a moment now to transition to the final part of our deep dive.
It's crazy to think, right? This whole time reading about Scout, we were also figuring out Boo Radley.
Unraveling the mystery right alongside her.
Yeah, and it all comes together in this chapter.
And it really makes you wonder about how often, how often we create our own Boo Radleys.
In our own lives, you mean?
Yeah, in our own lives. We let fear and misunderstanding, cloud our judgment.
It's a good reminder to
check ourselves and see things from other people's perspective.
To challenge our assumptions, right?
Exactly. And I think that's really one of the most important things Lee is trying to do in To Kill a Mockingbird.
It's not just about,
race relations.
Yeah, or childhood innocence.
Right, it's about empathy.
And challenging our own biases.
The possibility of redemption. Even in the most unlikely situations.
And it's interesting, isn't it, how Lee uses something as simple as reading a book
to bring these themes to life.
Exactly. Atticus choosing the gray ghost at that moment.
It feels so deliberate.
It does.
Almost like he's saying, hey, look, here's a story about judging someone unfairly. Now look around. Who are the gray ghosts in your own life?
Oh, I like that. It is like he's giving us a challenge.
And it makes you think about the power of stories.
How they shape how we see the world.
Think about all those stories about Boo Radley.
All the rumors.
Yeah, the legends. They turned him into this, almost a monster.
But what if those stories were wrong?
Right. What if the truth was totally different?
And that's what's so powerful about this chapter.
It shows us the real Boo Radley.
Not the myth. Yeah.
It shows us his complexity.
And it challenges us to question those stories we tell ourselves.
Especially about people we don't understand.
Or people who seem different from us.
Exactly.
It's like when Scout stands on the Radley porch.
And sees everything from Boo's point of view.
A physical shift and, a mental one.
Right. It changes her whole understanding.
Of him and the world.
A reminder that perspective is everything.
It really is.
Even a small shift in perspective can change so much.
Absolutely.
How we see ourselves.
How we see each other.
So, as we come to the end of our deep dive.
Into chapter 31.
Yes.
I hope you're feeling, a sense of wonder.
A sense of curiosity.
About the power of stories. The importance of empathy.
And seeing the world with new eyes.
And as you keep reading, To Kill a Mockingbird.
Keep asking questions, challenge those assumptions, keep an open mind.
An open heart. You never know what you might discover.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into To Kill a Mockingbird, Chapter 31, and until next time, keep exploring those hidden depths.
In the stories all around us.
Exactly.